What's up, bro? So, first of all, thank you for allowing me to try to help out in the ways I can. Like I said, this is just from me to you, trying to help out, trying to, on my end, just trying to build more experience in terms of coaching experience, but also, just from guy to guy, like, especially online, people can get definitely weird and probably overly negative about a lot of things, where I think a lot of the responses you may get online, just swing wise, can be negative if they're not, really in there to try to help. A lot of people on the internet are a little bit weird about that kind of stuff. And then even then, if people do try to offer help, if it's not in person or if it's not really in depth on video, it really is not going to help very much at all. But first of all, I do want to say, like, the things you're working on in your swing that I can see, from like an outside point of view, makes sense. Like the things you're working on, it seems like you're trying to rotate and you're trying to shallow. I think unfortunately some of these things we're working on don't really match up necessarily, which is okay, and that's totally normal. That's kind of part of the journey. But we'll kind of discuss that. We'll start off a little bit with some things I've noticed in setup a little bit. Firstly, overall setup looks pretty good. I think the tendency is to get a little crowded on the ball, so our hands are getting a little bit too close to us. Not that big of a deal. A lot of players do hit the ball really well from that position. I think, Jim Furyk's a great example. He stands really close, and he has kind of a similar pattern to what looks like you're trying to work on, where he stands really close and he gets kind of in, out, around, which is cool for him, but for the majority of people, I think it could be more disadvantageous than it is advantageous, which, again, no big deal. But I think I looked through a couple of your videos trying to find some good swing videos. I'll post a clip on here too as well that kind of goes over some line work after looking at one of your swings. But I saw a clip of where a couple of your swings, I guess maybe a year ago or however long ago, where swing actually, it looked pretty solid. It looked, pretty simple in terms of your playing. Like, you took it back pretty well, and then it was, I would say, maybe a simpler action than what it currently is. But I digress a little bit. To get into it, yeah, your setup is a little bit too close to the ball, in my opinion. In a perfect world, we can get maybe same setup in terms of like bend and posture, but try to get it to where like maybe we have a fist width space between the butt end of the club and kind of your thigh. From there, I think we have a lot more room to be able to have space for our hands to return to at impact. That's just kind of a small thing I think will help us in the long run. But overall, I'm seeing definitely in the takeaway, we get a lot of the club is out and the hands go up and then we drop it, which again, I don't mind, and it's something that works for people. But that in combination with, it's something called early extension. I'm sure you've heard of it online. It's kind of it's a stupid topic, honestly, in my opinion. Some people it works for them, but for you it's disadvantageous, like I said. So we're getting super up with the club head, and then we drop it down shallow with the wrist, and then we also have our hips kind of shoot into our space originally. Like, the way you set up, you already don't have a lot of space for your hands at impact. So you're getting up with the club, back down with the club and the hands, and then our hips kind of crowd this space. So now, in order to hit the ball, you're having to like drop really far under, and you have a really in to out club path, which on your miss hits is either getting this really big block right or this really overhooking shot. It kind of depends on the contact, and I'm sure you have trouble with low point in terms of like you're probably catching a lot of these shots pretty heavy. Again, not the end of the world, and something we can work on. If, let's say, you don't want to focus too much on your arms in the backswing, we're going to need to clean up the lower body. If we want to kind of make the whole movement simpler, we're going to have to work a little bit on both the arm movement and also the lower body. Nonetheless, the lower body is going to need to change for what either pattern that we're going to work on, just in terms of a matchup. Because right now, if we're crowded up close, we go up and down, but then our hips crowd the space. It's never going to be a really great shot, to be honest with you. It's not going to be a consistent shot, at least. You're going to hit good ones from time to time, but it's not going to be the level of consistency you're wanting. Pretty much, if we were to work on anything, the first thing I would do, obviously, first of all, is set up getting a little bit more space between the butt end of the club and your hips. From there, let's say we keep the hand movement the same, the pattern is the same. You get a really good job of laying the club off. You shallow it quite well. But if I shallow it and then my hips crowd the space, I have nowhere for my arms and my club to swing through. I wish I could have seen like a face-on video, a video where the camera's right in front of us, so I can see kind of what your movement is. But the tendency for people who have early extension, which just means that their hips are extending towards the ball early in the swing, it's pretty much all it means. The causation for something like that is typically because people, when they make their backswing, they're not shifting to their lead side quick enough. So my guess or my assumption based on what I'm seeing in these down the line swings is you're taking back and immediately from the top you're just turning while you're dropping your hands, so you're getting kind of stuck laid underneath. And I'll get a little bit more in depth about that in the line video. So the first thing we're going to try to work on is, now with a slightly better setup, the first move I make as I make my backswing, we can keep the arm movement the same for now. You know, this is like lesson 1, you could call it. We'll keep the arm movement the same. I'm taking a good backswing, but the first move I do, instead of turning, is going to be, I'm going to shift my weight, both my pelvis and my upper body, they're moving as one unit. I'm not sliding one way or tilting this way. They're both moving the same way. They're moving kind of, I'm pushing diagonally down kind of into my lead side, like my pinky toe and like that, I guess ring toe, I don't know what you want to call it, but down at this like 45-degree angle towards the target. I'm not just shifting laterally, I'm not shifting back or anything. I'm not just shifting towards the ball. I'm turning, shifting this way slightly, and then I can start to rotate. Because again, if with your pattern, you have the tendency for everything to get crowded into this space, and we want to kind of avoid that. You're doing a really good job about shallowing, but I want to make sure we can get our weight forward so that the shallowing doesn't go to waste, if that makes sense. So from here, we can start off with maybe some like half swings, some like pause type swings where we step to the ball, we get at least a fist width of space behind us. We'll do like a half swing, like 50% speed, where I'll take it back halfway, and then from here, I'll get that little diagonal weight shift forward, and then I can turn through the ball. So now you're still shallowing it totally fine, but now my body's in much better space to release, because if our hip is turning early, our whole sequence is off. So again, now I can turn back halfway, stop there, and then shift and turn. The idea with this pressure shift is that I'm not shifting and turning. I'm not going over like that. I'm still shifting with no turn with my arms. And then from here, once I get this pressure shift all the way over here, then I can kind of jump off of it and then release. Like I said, you don't really have an issue with shallowing the club in terms of like wrist positions or wrist movement. So I think with this, it's going to clean up low point. It's going to clean up kind of that early extension. But at a certain point pretty quickly, if you're doing this correctly, we're going to still probably run into some pretty big draws, and still a low point might be a little bit weird. So I guess like part 2 of this, first of all, I want the first part of this conversation to be addressed. I want the setup to be clean. I want you to be able to, in slow motion shots or like slower shots, for you to shift away before you turn, so that our hip doesn't fire before our weight gets forward. That's the big thing. We want our weight to get forward and diagonal before we fire either of the hips or the shoulders. From there, if we're running into some pretty big draws, the contact's a little cleaner, then we can start to talk a little bit more about kind of turning and hand path. So once I'm to the point now, if I'm you, and I'm getting a little bit cleaner contact, but I'm still getting these bigger draws, now we can talk about, okay, I'm still getting my weight forward, but now instead of just dropping my hands down, I'm feeling like my right shoulder, my chest, gets more covering my left foot. So in a face-on view, I'll take my backswing, I'll shift, and then the only thing I'm really focusing on is kind of where my chest is at, or my right shoulder, if that. And I'm feeling like that's covering or getting on top of this lead foot. I don't want you to get to the point where now, okay, our weight's still good, but our hands are dropping way too far back so that we're making contact back here. If I can get my weight forward and then my upper body, my right pec is getting covered on top of the ball, now we're starting to even out that dispersion a little bit. We're getting a tighter shot shape. If we're doing good about both of those things now, I might want you to set something up around here, maybe like a small basket from the range, or a head cover right here. Just maybe like 2 club lengths in front of your trail foot, just so that we're still kind of neutralizing out the club path a little bit, so it's not getting dumped underneath us, and we can kind of get on top of it and more forward, all in one motion, without getting stuck crowding the space. So now, this next shot, 50% half swing, I'm gonna feel like, okay, I'm getting my lead side forward, my pelvis and my upper body forward and diagonal, and then I can just cover the ball. That's kind of neutralizing everything. Our attack angle is getting better, our club path is more neutralized, it's not as severely into out, and then we can hit some shots from there. Again, like I said, this is only after we're able to get that weight shift with no turn. So now I'm going to get weight shift, diagonal, but cover the ball with my chest, or cover my left foot with my chest, back halfway. And then hopefully now we're starting to see some maybe even thinner shots as the new miss, instead of like these chunk hooks or chunk blocks. I think all these things, it can be a lot for certain players. After seeing your original swings, like from not that long ago, you posted kind of like a how can a swing go from this to this, and it showed your old swing versus your current swing. I honestly think you have the ability to make a change pretty quickly, and I think social media and maybe some ill advice has done a number on kind of what you're working on. And it's not that it's bad information, it's just information from different sources that don't create the same outcome. They're both good pieces of, like, getting good lower body activation, getting that kind of looping swing can be cool, but it's not working together. So I kind of want to just dumb it down a little bit, right? We got a good setup. Okay, the next thing, when I take it back, I'm just getting diagonal forward, and then I can release. Okay, I'm starting to see some progress. I'm starting to see some cleaner contact, and the ball starting right, drawing back a little bit. Okay, cool. Okay, now if I want to neutralize that draw a little bit, okay, now the only thing I'm adding to this, I'm still getting diagonal forward, but then I just cover it with my chest a little bit. So now, instead of dropping it down, now by the time I'm on my lead diagonal, if I use my chest to cover it, you can see the club path is getting more neutral, like on this single plane line instead of up and down. I'm hoping this makes sense. I'm sure it does. You seem more than capable of making this happen, and obviously I'm here to still answer any questions you may have. This is not just like a one and done thing. This is like a lot of moving parts, and this is going to be kind of combating some of the things you've been working on. It doesn't, to me, it clearly looks like you're working on your game, which I can totally appreciate and understand. Like I said, this is just kind of trying to clear up some of the confusion that I think social media can invoke on your swing. I would say try to disregard anything else at the moment and just see how this works. Take 3 to 4 practice sessions to try to work on this thing, and just do it for the first 10 to 15 minutes of your practice. Okay, so I'm going dry swings, no ball. Okay, take it back, diagonal shift, and then I can turn. Okay, that felt pretty good. My turf interactions past where the ball would be. Do a couple of those dry swings. Okay, now let me do one with the ball. And I'll do 3 swings without a ball, I'll do 1 swing with the ball. So I'm doing kind of like a circuit. Do that 10, 15, 20 minutes of your practice session to start off. for a ball, half swing. Okay, cool. Okay, and then now after that, okay, now bring the speed back up and just keep that feel in mind. If it's starting to get weird when you're back in practice, okay, take a couple practice swings where you're really feeling patient on it and you're getting forward and you can go. Okay, today I did really well. Okay, next day, okay, maybe now I can implement that like chest covering feeling. Slowly work on these things, and as we start to see changes in kind of how our lower body and upper body moves, now we can start to work on it a little bit differently and implement some new ideas to help create a better swing overall and a more consistent swing. Consistency is such a farce in golf. The only things I want you to be able to control in your consistency is where can I start the ball, where can I contact the ball on the club face. Contact, start line, and finish line, that's what consistency truly is. And that's something we'll build upon moving forward, but I want to see these movements change a little bit before we get into some of that other stuff. Hopefully that makes sense, and like I said, I know, I'm sorry this is kind of a longer video, but I want you to make sure you're getting enough out of this. But I'll include this kind of swing analysis where we're looking at a few lines on your swing, so you can kind of get a gauge and a metric so that this makes sense and that you can kind of see things on your own. I don't know if my video is properly set up now, but obviously the videos you're taking are good for Instagram, but if you're trying to do an analysis on your own, just make sure the middle of your screen or your camera lenses are right down your toe line. So, our target line and our toe line are pretty parallel. That's something I also kind of noticed with your swings. Sometimes you get a little bit open, which makes sense. If I'm setting the ball too far back and my stance is open, it can kind of help things out. So, get our ball position back in the middle, get our fist width away from the butt end of the grip, and then just make sure your hips and your shoulders, are parallel to your target. And then when you're taking your video, if you're trying to analyze it, make sure the center of the screen is right down your toe line. This should be the middle of the screen so that you can get an accurate reading, and then you can send me those as well, and then I can accurately take a look with the lines and stuff. So from here, if I'm trying to emulate your swing, we'll see. We'll get it up. And then from there, you should be good. Like I said, give those things a run. Let me know what you think. I'm here to answer any questions. So I think you'll do great with this. I don't have any doubts about it. I know this is a better matchup for you. It's just about kind of getting the work in and taking the time to kind of understand it and implement it, and then we'll see. So hopefully it works, but if not, just let me know. What's up, bro? So like I said, just wanted to do a quicker session here with taking a look at your swing from one of your Instagram videos. And first of all, like I said, super athletic motion, and there's a lot of just moving pieces. So I think the idea is we want to try to clean it up and make it a little bit more simple. Backswing, I really don't mind too much. I think there's maybe a lack of lower body rotation, which is something I probably should have touched on in our video. I might take another video in here in a second to kind of touch on that a little bit, but we can just see the ball on average starts quite a ways right from target, and then you're kind of just hoping it draws back if we make good contact on it. Nonetheless, here we'll start with a couple lines. So I'll draw line number one, which is like your swing plane line. So it's just down the line of your shaft. Take another line down here at your forehead just to see. And then another line at the top of your head just to see. And then kind of a butt line. So our plane line is kind of determining whether or not our direction of our swing is either neutral, under, or over. So an over would be kind of like over the top, under would be kind of dumped under, stuck, and then on plane would be ideal. So we take it back. Again, our club head gets quite a ways ahead of us, gets out over our heads. A perfect position is that this position, like P2, where our club is parallel to the ground. Ideally, I'd want like the club head to be over here by our hands, but again, I'm not too picky about that. If it works, it works. Take a good, pretty solid turn back, and we get decent depth at the top. It could be a little bit better. Again, if we maybe got more hip rotation, so our hip was more open, maybe the butt end of our club would be more over here, which would be like behind, or not behind, but like kind of on our ankle bone. Right now, again, I think it's all right. We don't need to worry about it too much. But we see as we start to downswing, the shaft shallows out pretty solid. Like, that's a great movement. I have no complaints about that.
But the issue is kind of, you can start to see like your right butt cheek almost like gets off of this back line and gets towards where our hands were at address. So if our hands are right here at address, let me do a different color. If our hands are right here at address, we want to be able to return it to that spot to get a pretty good impact. And our hips are kind of blocking us from doing that, so then our hands end up getting over the line or kind of out in front of us. So if we follow the club head, it drops down, shallows out really good, but then right around here, it starts to get behind our original plane line, that line that followed the shaft. So again, we can see it right here, so it kind of follows down this line. So we're getting really underneath this line and kind of stuck flip out. So the point of our drills in the first place are, first of all, we're getting our weight shifted more down the, diagonal towards the target line. That's a shitty line. Like diagonal that way. And then from there, we can turn and hit the ball. So it's kind of delaying our hip from shooting too early and us getting stuck. And then the other idea is that, okay, once we got that solid and that movement piece where we're kind of getting our weight forward first and delaying a little bit of that hip movement. Now, in a perfect world, if we're able to cover with our chest, we should see the club head and our shaft start to fall in line with our trail arm, so that instead of being underneath the line here and delivering from this line, we're more on top of it and delivering on this line, so we can make kind of more neutral contact. Hopefully that makes sense. At some point, I would really love it if you could send me some down the line, or some face-on videos, just where like the ball or the center of your stance is in the middle of the screen, and I'm seeing like a face-on view, so we can take a better look about how the weight shift is looking and all that. But this is really just to get you an idea of what it looks like. So you're getting up, you're crowding your space with your hips, and then your club head is getting underneath the plane line, and you're getting kind of stuck. Flip, low point is behind you. This is just to provide some context to what we were talking about. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. But let me know, obviously.
What's up, bro? So the only thing I think I failed to mention after looking at the swing again, so I'm going to post the first video and then the line work video, and then I'll touch a little bit on this. Nothing too crazy, but I think in combination, I mentioned in the line video, we're not getting a whole lot of depth with our hands because our hips aren't working that much in the backswing. So now with our good setup, if I take the club on my chest, if I turn back, I want it to be where my hips are moving pretty much 45 degrees. Right now you're maybe like 10 or 20 degrees of movement back, and then your shoulders are doing the rest. I want it to be where your hips move about 45, and then your shoulders can move another 45 to make 90. So if I, originally we're kind of close, we're not getting too deep, and like if I drew a line from the butt end of your club down, it's kind of like more on the balls of your feet. Now if I can make a deeper turn with my hips in the backswing, without changing anything else, like now if I drew a line from the butt end of the club down, it's more like kind of in line with my ankle bone. And that again also makes it easier for us to deliver it from a more neutral area almost, without having to worry too much about dropping it down or anything like that. So this is just a little small tidbit. Add this to like the foundational. So setup is number one. Now you can make a deeper turns, number two. And then number three is diagonal shift swing. Once those three things are pretty clean and you get some good shots with that, okay, now if I'm still noticing some pretty big draws, the number four addition is now I'm just trying to get my chest to cover the ball, or my right pec to get on top of my left leg, so I'm neutraling out. That club path is not dropping way underneath anymore. So good setup, deep turn, shift forward, and then I can cover it. All those things should make a pretty neutral swing. So good setup, deep turn, shift forward, and cover the ball for a pretty solid swing. Hopefully that helps. Like I said, any help you need, I'm here. Just give me a shout. I'll try to touch on any of the points that maybe don't make so much sense, and could offer some sort of other option for you to test out and try in terms of a feel or a drill or whatnot. But for now, I think working on these things, like I said, a couple dry swings, a couple 50% half swings, do that for about 10-15 minutes. Okay, now bring the speed up, move throughout your bag, implement the different phases of it. If things aren't working out, just dumb it down, start with setup, make sure setup's good. Okay, now I can just do weight shift, and then, so, you know, take it in phases, make sure they're all kind of clicking, because one needs to happen first. There's an order of operations for this, and just do it in like how I mentioned. So, like I said, you should be good, man. You should be good. This is a really good foundational building block for you, I think, moving forward, and will kind of bring you back to, I think, where you want to be, instead of chasing this, you know, I don't want to call it like an internet swing, but I think it is just the byproduct of hearing a lot of people say a lot of things that are like buzzwords and make sense, which doesn't make them wrong by any means, but I think making sure they match up is the most important part. So let me know your thoughts. I really am keen to hear that, but I'm more keen to see the progress that this has for you. So let me know. Good luck and have fun.